I think you guys thought that this guy forgot completely about On the Spot. I didn't. I had other things going on at the moment. I didn't get a chance to do On the Spot, but we are doing it right now. This is your opportunity. Well, you had the opportunity to send me some questions. This is now my opportunity to answer them. If at all, at some point during the course of these videos, you hear Spot's voice starting to break up, I either have allergies or I have some sort of cold. I'm not really sure which one, but needless to say, my voice seems to go from normal speaking voice to crackly, possibly sexy voice. I don't know. But anyways, we're going to go through. We're going to answer the questions that you guys have sent me. Moving first down, by the way, thank you to everybody that sent me your questions. Moving first down, we've got ourselves some series of video questions. Video questions. We're going to go into those. And we'll just see what we got. Looks like we got ourselves 7 questions. Going to go through these. I'd say in no particular order, but truthfully, we're actually just going to go from top to bottom. We're going to do, yes, no, top to bottom. We're going to go on the first one here, which comes to us from the Review Revolution. Just going to watch this first.
Sitting around my set with my camera turned on, working on my custom because
I have some water, by the way. I'm just going to be drinking some water.
I don't really just sit here like this with my camera. That's a little weird. But no,
it's not weird at all.
Here because I'm hoping I've got time.
You've got lots of time
to catch the review Spot for his On the Spot segment because I've got a question. Hey Spot.
Hey. I don't really know what I could call you. Revolution.
What new thing have you tried? And by new, I don't really mean like brand new, never before seen, you know, nothing like that. Nothing brand new. Something that is new to you. What have you tried, or what's the last thing that you tried that's been out for at least the past year, yeah, last year, maybe longer, that you've just started trying, whether it be a detergent, TV show, magazine, I don't know, any kind of product. What have you started to try? What have you started to try that is new to you that you've actually been really satisfied with, that you've been really pleased with? And what is it? Why do you like it? What's it replacing? You know, tell us why. What is it that's so great about it? And maybe why you overlooked it in the first place. So that's my question to the On the Spot segment. Hope you have fun with it. Guys, I've got parts here. We're going to put them together.
I think he's doing a custom of Papa Smurf. That's just my guess.
Check back with me.
That's just my guess.
Hey, pop on over. We'll have some fun.
By the way, check out Review Revolution if you haven't had a chance. The guy makes fantastic videos. Anyways, in answer to the Review Revolution's question about things that have been around for at least a year that I've now finally decided to try. Actually, you know what? I thought of 2 things, and they're not necessarily new, as if I've just started doing this in the last week or so. It's been, you know, a little bit. But 2 big things for me, and you guys are probably going to laugh at this, but 2 big things that Spot has just recently, within the course of the last year or so, has just recently jumped on to. If there was a bandwagon, what I would have jumped on to the bandwagon of. The first one is actually PVRs. You could believe it, Spot has only been using his PVR for about a year. It certainly has been around a lot longer than a year, but I've only started using a PVR. Oh my God, can I tell you how fantastic a PVR, well, for anyone who uses PVR, you already know how great a PVR is, but a PVR is fantastic. The very notion that you can pause live, well, it's not live TV, but TV that is currently being aired on your set, that you can pause it and go to the bathroom, go make some lunch, go make yourself a sandwich for dinner, you can come back and watch it again. Resume where you left off. That blows my mind on levels that I didn't even think was possible. I have gotten so into my PVR that sometimes what I'll do is I'll pause it deliberately and I'll go and do something for a while and I'll come back because then I can fast forward through the commercials. There might be an easier way to do it, but I love PVR. PVR is fantastic. The idea, again, to record my PVR, I just say, hey, I got some shows lined up. Can you handle it? PVR says, no problem. I don't know, it doesn't talk like that, but my PVR records it. I just go home. Every morning when I come home from work, every afternoon, I turn on my PVR and I say to myself, I wonder what my PVR had surprising for me. Like, maybe I'm going to come home and it said, hey, buddy, I've recorded this for you. You did? No need to thank me. So PVRing is really, really cool. I am so incredibly impressed with the idea of a PVR. The other one is Netflix. Something that I vowed that I was never going to give them business, because I am a big collector of DVDs and movies and everything like that. I never thought I'd ever get to a point where I was watching Netflix. Sure enough, it happened. Because I thought to myself, you know what? Finger up to imaginary face. I thought to myself, there are movies that I own. Yes. There are movies I will likely buy. But every once in a while, there's a movie I might be thinking to myself, you know what? I really feel like watching said movie. And for one reason or another, I don't have it. You can't necessarily go out and rent it. Video stores aren't really around anymore. There are some video stores that are still around, but... So, really cool. Really cool. And it gives me a chance to watch some movies where I was caught on the fence, and I thought to myself, I wonder what this movie is like. For $8 a month, unlimited, babe, I can go and check that out. That is the biz. Netflix. Love it. So those are two things that aren't relatively new. They're at least a year old. But I would say for the last year or so, Spot's been eating it up like ice cream. Delicious, delicious bowls of Netflix and PVR ice cream. That's a delicious combination. And thank you to the Review Revolution who sent me your question. Moving back in time, we're going to go to Adam Baum OI. He sends me a question.
Hey, Spot. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing well.
How are your cats doing? Are your cats doing good, too?
You know what? I'm going to pause that for a second. My cats are actually doing fantastic. And let me also say, let me throw one back at you. You, sir, have fantastic lighting. Look at the lighting on this video. It's fantastic. I'm so jealous. Anyways, moving along. My cats, by the way, are all right. Thank you for asking.
You should definitely give your cats a pet for me, and maybe even throw in a treat.
I might just do that.
Anyway, I was about to shoot this stuff.
As long as he doesn't want expensive treats, that's...
And I thought to myself, hey, wait a second. Spot's doing on the spot right now, and you got a question, so you should ask Spot your question. So here's my question, Spot.
Shoot.
I gotta know, as a viewer of video review, Spot, you yourself, do you have any pet peeves? Do you, Spot, looking right at you, do you have any pet peeves?
He's looking at me.
When, as a viewer.
Look at the tattoos on his hand. That's also incredible.
Things. It could range from people not speaking clearly enough to my number one pet peeve. This is mine. When I notice that the reviewer has dirty fingernails, it kills it for me, Spot. It kills it. I can't tell you enough that it kills it for me. I gotta turn that review off.
That's an awesome figure, by the way.
It's too gross.
I love that Dutch
Just
figure.
can't do it, man.
Love it.
Anyway, Spot, thank you very much for doing this on the spot. And I look forward to once again knowing what is truly Spot's thought. See what I did there again?
I see what you did.
I knew you'd see.
You know what?
Anyway,
It doesn't... This, I have vision. I can totally see what you just did. So that comes to us from Adam Baum OI. Or is it Adam Baum Boy? Anyways, his question was, is there anything that I find as a pet peeve as a viewer of watching videos? I actually watch a lot of reviewers out there. I do. I actually do. My thing, I just love coming home sometimes, sit in front of the computer, maybe doing some editing. And while my video is editing itself, I just check out YouTube and I just watch videos. I actually like his videos quite a bit too. Anyways, his question was, is there anything that's a pet peeve of mine as a viewer? I have a couple. And a couple of people have asked, well, you know what, how can you improve a video? And I'm far being the last person to give any sort of advice on that. But somebody asked, well, a couple people have asked, how can you improve a video? One thing, I can feel my voice crackling up. One thing I've noticed is people that... Okay, there's probably three things. People that put a figure So if this is my hand with not dirty nails at least. If my figure was, say, in front of something, whether it be a bookcase or a monitor, sometimes people have things going on their monitors, like there's music playing, and then there's like video playing up in the corner, and then there's maybe something going on down here. Somebody's popping up a message saying, hey, you coming over after school and we can play hacky sack. Oh no, I can't really right now. And that's all going on while you've got the figure in front, and then you're talking about the figure. When you're reviewing, or at least my feelings of it, if you're reviewing something, whatever you're reviewing should be the prime focus of the review. You shouldn't really have anything in the background, and that really drives me crazy personally. Trying to watch somebody's review of something and you've got all this business going on in the back. Dirty, busy business going on in the back. If you can find just even like a plain board of something, like a whiteboard, or not construction paper because you would need a lot of it, but like foam board. Foam board's a good example. Something that's a very singular color that doesn't distract from the figure itself. Adam's got a very good example here of when he did his Dutch. You see a very white background. The only focus in the video is of Dutch. So that's one peeve I kind of have. Another peeve is people that have mobile cameras or mobile phone cameras or whatever they're using to record the video, and they don't have it on something. So, you can move a figure, you can zoom into a figure, there's always that activity. But when somebody goes guerrilla style and they're like, hey, here's my review of Dutch. Here's a close-up of Dutch. Yeah, okay, I've got the side here, and they're moving around. I don't know if maybe they're eating potato chips while they're moving their camera. That kind of, for me, I find that's a bit of a distraction. It just takes a lot away from me wanting to watch it because there's just so much going on. Like, I will level with you. I'm somebody that gets motion sickness very easily playing like first-person games and stuff like that. So things moving around, it takes me away from watching a video. And probably the last thing, and I'm hoping I'm not notorious for this, something else that bothers me when people do reviews is talking hands. Talking hands. What exactly do I mean by talking hands? Here, let me give you an example. And I say this only from my own self. When I talk trying to gesture the feeling that I currently have. You see what I did there? Some people, when they do a review, you noticed my hand sways when I do a review. Some people, on the other hand, when they do videos, and it's not everybody, but sometimes when people do it, they don't know what to do with their hands. And what you ended up getting is something like, hey, I'm currently doing a review of this. This is my Dutch figure, for example. And I bought this figure, I don't know, maybe about 2 months ago. And 2 months ago, when I bought this figure from Toys R Us, I thought this was a really cool figure. So I thought, you know what? For $15, why don't I just pick this up and then I can do a review of it and then you guys can see it on YouTube. I think that was a really cool idea. You see what I did there? Okay. So that's kind of something that I find is a bit... my feeling is less is more. If you've got a figure on screen, you don't necessarily have to show your hands so much when you're doing the figure. The figure itself really is representing your video, you're reviewing. It's merely your voice overlaying on top of whatever you're reviewing that can easily convey what you're reviewing. You don't necessarily need hands all the time. Sure, in these on-the-spot videos, or if I don't really have a lot going on the video, I might move my hands a little bit more, but really, your hands could easily just be an extension of your voice. It doesn't have to represent you. Because when it represents you, and you feel the need to add extra digits and movements in your hands when you're doing the video, sure, it does come across as a bit of a distraction. You see what I did there? Adam sees what I did there. So thank you to your question, Adam Baum, OI. I hopefully have answered that correctly. And thank you again for watching these videos and staying tuned. I certainly appreciate that. Thank you very much, sir. Backtracking, back in time, We're going to go to SXE Blues. He's got an on-the-spot question.
Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues.
Love Johnny Blues, by the way.
To submit to the Review Spots on the spot Q&A for 2013 2 questions, and essentially the first one is mine. The second will be from my sister. The first one has to do with the pricing of action figures and collectibles. Basically, what are your opinions on this? Do you think there is an exponentially, raising value for collectibles and figures and stuff like that? Because I found myself in Walmart and then soon thereafter Target looking for Man of Steel figures recently, and I wasn't really happy with what they had on the shelves. I didn't see the Movie Masters one, so I moved along. But I did notice, there was a weird thing going on. I saw like these, almost foot-tall Spider-Man figures for $10. And right next to it on the shelf are Amazing Spider-Man figures in the 3 to 4 inch range, Man of Steel figures along those lines, for $12 and $15. And it's like, I'm just scratching my head. I'm looking at the bigger figure is cheaper than the smaller ones. And I came to realize, I don't remember what the company was that made the taller figure, but, is it the toy companies that are producing it? The Mattels getting more money than, the cheapo, taller Spider-Man, which was made by a cheaper company probably. I don't know. It just seems like the prices for these things is going through the roof. Much more than I remember. I mean, just 10 years ago, I remember being able to get DC Direct figures for $12, $15, and now it's like I'm breaking the bank if I want to get new 52 figures. It's insane. And that doesn't even, that's store-bought figures. That doesn't even go into the Kotobukiya, the Play Arts, the DC collectibles of the modern era, just, again, breaking the bank. Basically, I'd like to know your thoughts on that, and if you think it's sort of a crisis for collectors who don't have a lot of money. The second question.
Okay, I'm just going to pause that there for a second. We'll get into his second question in a second. I'm just actually looking at his first question that he asked. He wanted to know what I thought of inflated prices on action figures. It's something I have mentioned before, and actually it brings up a good valid point, so we'll discuss this obviously here. He does bring up valid points, and somebody I remember posted on Facebook that, they were using the comparison of pop bottles, and they were using like the 2-liter Cokes, which at some stores you could get for 99 cents, and yet then they had a smaller, like 1-liter bottle, or whatever it was, 1.5 liter, I think it was 1-liter bottles, and they were possibly like $1.49. And you really have to ask yourself, on a volume level, why something can be so much larger and so more inexpensive. And you know what? Something can also be said for action figures. I almost want to say, and I very well could be wrong when I say this, but I really think what set the bar for higher priced figures was the Marvel Universe figures. The reason why I say that is because G.I. Joes, which were a smaller scale figure at the time, were going for about $6 or $7. I remember I could go in and I could buy like 25th anniversary figures, and they weren't sitting at $10. They were sitting at about $6, maybe $7. It's been a while, so I'm going by my old man memory here. But then all of a sudden, Marvel Legends dropped. Marvel Legends with Toy Biz were pulled. They didn't make Marvel Legends figures anymore. So there was that gap. And then what had happened was you went in with Hasbro. Did I say Mattel? Hasbro Marvel Legends. And out of nowhere, they were just like $9.99. And it seemed like everything after that was inflated in pricing. Where like when G.I. Joes hit afterwards, they were going for like $9.99, which is alright. But then what really started getting me was when you started going into stores and you're seeing like Transformers Deluxe figures, instead of being like $9, then they were going around $12. Movie figure Deluxe figures were going for around $12 to $14, and that's really a lot of money. And Mattel started doing that. I remember with the wrestling figures, the Great Moments, the Legends figures, the Deluxe the deluxe wrestling figures. I kid you not, I went into Toys R Us and they had an Ultimate Warrior, and I still remember it. They had Ultimate Warrior for $34.99, and I thought to myself, that's just a WWE Elite figure. Sure, it has some extra clothing in a nicer box, but for $35. And I think to myself, when 3 3/4 inch figures were big back in the day, you could probably have gotten about 6 figures for that price. And that's really ridiculous. And again, going to a point that he made, you can find larger scaled figures. There was a larger version of Batman that was released by Mattel for the Dark Knight Rises, and there was a larger figure, and I remember seeing that at Walmart for probably around $14, and it might have been clearance anyways, but for around $14. Then you get these smaller basic figures, which by basic standards, if you compare like the Batman Begins deluxe figures to what we got with the Dark Knight Rises basic figures, on a quality and just rushed job, certainly the newer toys are a lot cheaper in design. And they could say, well, cost of plastic and everything else has gone up. I really think that's malarkey. I'm going to say it. I didn't mean to start using bad words in here, but I think that's malarkey, that you can turn around and say, well, hey, guys, it's the cost of plastic that's making these prices go up. Because you know what? My thought is, if you're going to say that and say, well, it's the cost of plastic that's causing these figures to go up, my response would be, well, you know what? For the Superman figures, don't release all these little basic figures. Don't release like these snap whipping Superman figures. Because you know what? As a kid, if I was a kid, I would still like the movie Master Superman. If you gave him some accessories, or you gave us a version of him with accessories, you know what? Kids would be just as happy as they would with smaller figures. And you see all the things that sit on the shelves after things have come out. Movies have come and gone. Dark Knight Rises figures are still sitting on the shelves, pegging themselves. And then to turn around and say, well, it's the cost of plastic, guys, that's making our prices go up. Here's an idea. How about not make as much crap? Don't make as much crap. Put the money into something worthwhile. And A, you're going to save a lot of money on production and manufacturing costs. And B, you're going to have people buying them because you're not going to be so bogged down with so much crap. It's just a waste. And that also goes into a point that I don't really want to make, but I'll make it, about Matty Collector, where you can have Matty Collector with subscription figures, and Hasbro's doing this now, subscription figures that are cutting out the real estate renting of spaces in stores, the manufacturing costs and shipping costs of these figures. You're supplying them directly to the customer who's buying them, and yet the figures themselves are more expensive than the DC Universe figures or whatever other figures that you might have in retail. Makes no sense. But, unfortunately, as a consumer, as we are the consumers, we're going to continue to buy this stuff, and therefore toy companies are going to continue to make them because they feel like, you know what? The demand is there, we're going to supply them, and we'll just charge whatever we want for them. And I know toy stores and other stores obviously buy them at a cheaper price and raise the cost, but I don't think stores like Toys R Us, Walmart's are buying and selling them for that much more than probably what they're buying them for. Even if they make $1 or $2 off each figure, what they're probably buying them for is only a reflection of what the manufacturer is charging them as. And I think it's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. And now you can get DC collectible figures, which by no stretch of the imagination, they are good figures. They are really well detailed figures. But to get a Darkseid from the new 52 and expect to pay about $80 for it, to get the new Joker from Arkham City, that Uber Joker figure, and pay about $70 to $80 for it, that's asking a lot of money out of not just us, not just the collectors, but the kids out there that want to get these toys. No kid's going to be able to afford figures like that. And I think that's just... it boils down to greed, really. It boils down to greed and not willing to budge an inch and expect the consumers to save lines. Oh hey, Masters of the Universe are dying, guys. Nobody's buying our figures. Help, you the fans must save our line. If you don't save it, we won't produce it. I think that's a bunch of malarkey. There, I said the M word again. That's his first question. Let's have a look at what he asked for his second question.
And as I say, comes from my sister, and that's basically with everything that you review as far as snacks and soft drinks and stuff like that. Would you ever consider purchasing and or reviewing something that is considered a delicacy along the lines of an insect-based snack? You see these things in like China and Japan, you know, chocolate-covered crickets, that kind of thing. What are your limits there? You know, would you consider trying them, or would that be something you would want to get into? And so yeah, those are my two questions. Best of luck to Review Spot for all the questions, all the videos, all the love that he gets. He's definitely deserved of it. And yeah, so I hope to hear from you. Peace.
Thanks very much, SXE Blues, Johnny Blues. The answer to your question, the second question from your sister, let me level this. Let me level with you guys on this little fact about myself. I'm a bit of a wuss. I really am a bit of a wuss. I review stuff that is within my comfort zone. I'm very much a texture kind of guy. Lychee nuts, for example, I don't like eating them because they remind me of dragon eyes. If I envision what I'm eating, yeah, I probably would have a tough time eating it. I have seen, and over the course of time, I've looked at things like, you know, larvas, chocolate-covered crickets, you know, chocolate-covered ants, and I thought to myself, you know, reviewing aside, I honestly don't see this as something that I could consume without throwing up everywhere. So for that reason, I've probably stayed away from doing stuff like that, and I probably will continue for no other reason than I'm just a big wuss. I am a big wuss, and for me, thinking about what I'm eating would ruin what I'm eating. Case in point, and I'm using this example, but if somebody said to me, hey, would you like a steak? I would say, yes, I love steaks. I would love to eat a delicious steak. Thank you very much. If somebody was to say, hey, how would you like to try rabbit? And gave it to me, I would be like, no, really not. Because rabbits are cute. I know other animals are cute. But thinking about what I'm eating would really deter me from wanting to eat it. Now, granted, if somebody was to give me a steak and I'm eating it and then they said, hey, did you like that? And I said, sure did. You liked every piece of it? Oh yeah, every piece. Was it juicy? Yeah, really juicy. Flavorful? Oh, you know it was flavorful. Yeah, that was rabbit. I would say, you know what? I hate you. I wouldn't say I hate you, but I would definitely not be happy with the fact. For me, kind of really want to be something I stay away from. And that's just my opinion. But thank you, though, to SXE Blues. Another fantastic question from you, sir. Keep up the great work that you do. Do check out SXE Blues. And with that, 20 minutes in, Spot's going to wrap this up here. This was part 1 of On the Spot. Stay tuned for part 2, heading your way.